interestingly, this hobby I've also picked from Vikram Grewal sir. So he had this diary. He used to call it. I think he's mentioned it in one of his blogs that he used to call it a diary of everything. I'm having that diary on my desk only. I'll just show it to you.
Just flip out and let's show some pages if you can.
Yeah, so I have mentioned it also in Civilsdaily interview. What I wrote down, that don't drop keywords that might attract panel's attention.
What was your favorite failure like?
Favorite failure, I would say it would be my first prelim, when I failed the first prelims. And I'm actually very grateful for that. I still have that stacked up with me, all the pens, empty pens that I've used. So whenever I used to look at that box, I used to feel proud and elated. See, this is the amount that I've put into the ink. Has maybe it will write a revolution or maybe it won't. But please listen to it with caution. Okay. Only apply as per your discretion.
Cool. And let's just start with that. One question which I would like to go through you with is ki, if you would get like 5 minutes of puri dunya ka time, like you'll speak and the whole world will listen. What would you say about UPSC preparation? Okay. That would just come.
Yeah, I think I would like to start with the raw and real moment first, because I am reminded of that right now. So this one thing that I used to do whenever there would be a stretch of 4 to 5 days when I didn't feel like studying or when motivation levels would go down. So I felt that, sometimes negative motivation can also push you forward. Negative motivation in the sense something that sort of shakes you up. It wakes you up. You see, you are not really prepared. So what I used to do is that जैसे मैं 4-5 दिन से नहीं पढ़ रही होती हूँ, तो मैं एक मॉक टेस्ट लगा लेती थी, मैं एक FLT उठा लेती थी या सेक्शनल टेस्ट भी उन सब्जेक्ट्स का जिसमें I was not very confident. So like history, polity and economy, I was always very enjoyed doing them, but environment was my actual zeal. So I used to pick up a sectional test of environment or an FLT. And of course, mostly I would score bad in that. And then that sort of gave me कि हाँ देखो 40 marks आए हैं तो तुम कोई 30 mark fan नहीं हो, तो अब I think you should get back to your studies. तो वो एक जब जोड़ लगता था ना कि and when I used to check the answers और वो गलत होते रहते थे, continuously गलत होते रहते थे, तब एक दिमाग में आता था कि I need to buck up, I need to get back to studies. तो वो एक raw and real moment है कि खुद को एक reality check देने के लिए आप एक ऐसा टेस्ट लगा लो जो बहुत ही टफ हो.
It's a very courageous moment also, right? People would rather go for some safe and some cozy option to just get them into the preparation mode again. So you used to get a jolt back into the preparation.
Yeah.
Super interesting. Awesome. So everyone who's listening to this video, this was a raw and real moment for Wardah, and we'll start the conversation with that. This chart is not about what books to study, what your planner was like. None of the academic stuff which Wardah will anyway talk about in depth across YouTube and all of the channels. This is more about an aspirant's journey from point A to the rank she finally got and everything that happened in the process. And I've had 15 minutes of phone call before, so I know broad contours of what happened, and we'll go into some of them and we'll mix and match because life is organic, it's raw and real. So Wardah, thank you for coming in at such a short notice. I realized that a lot of one of your main inspiration point was Vikram Grewal sir, who you quoted at least twice or thrice in the call. And add to that, you didn't have UPSC as a childhood dream, so as to say, as most aspirants have. It was a very conscious call and a very mature call at that. Give me a sense of what happened when you completed your undergrad. You went for the Big Four, which is everyone's dream, at least to begin with. And what were the moments or a series of moments when you realized, Kiar, this is not it for me, and I want to take a mature call outside? And then how did you find inspirations in the UPSC wala corner?
So My college life was such कि I had not made a very concrete plan कि मैं यही करूंगी. Of course masters करना था, but एक बस I am someone जो बहुत ही immediate goals के basis पे I work upon. कि ये नहीं है कि दिमाग में एक long term vision है and then I cut down short term strategies for that. Of course UPSC के लिए that is the prerequisite, but in life generally I look forward to what will happen immediately. So, in college days, the everything. My primary goal was to be involved in extracurricular activities, balance it out with my academics, and in the final year, get a decent campus placement. So, when I got that campus placement, so naturally, I was looking forward to it, and I had joined KPMG within a few months. So, I had a different kind of picture in my mind regarding corporate. So I also had this in mind that I would be having a continuous client interaction. I would get to know about different industries, and I would be adding value to the lives of my customers by providing services and all. Of course, बहुत ही एक naive approach था, considering the fact कि मैं एक different type of job profile के लिए जा रही थी. When I joined it, I remember I joined it in September. And all those who have worked in Big Four, especially in the audit and taxation, would be knowing that your December, Jan is your busy season. They famously call it the busy season, because closing of financial year is approaching and you have to finalize all that. So there were times when I used to work for 12 to 14 hours a day also. And at the end of the day, even if you compare it with the civil servant or a bureaucrat's life, no, जब आप देखोगे कि at the end of 12 hours, एक सिविल सर्वेंट क्या करता है और एक कॉर्पोरेट में आई वुडंट जनरलाइज कि कॉर्पोरेट में सब यही करते हैं, बट दोज दैट मे बी डीलिंग विद फिगर्स एंड ऑल, इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग या टैक्सेशन एंड ऑडिट एंड स्टफ. तो एट द एंड ऑफ 12 आवर्स एक सिविल सर्वेंट ये कह सकता है कि मे बी आई हैव मेड अ पर्सन्स लाइफ इजी, आई हैव रिड्रेस्ड अ ग्रीवियंस और समथिंग लाइक दैट. ठीक है, सो ही हैज एडेड वैल्यू टू अ पर्सन्स लाइफ. But when I compared it with what I was doing, at the end of the day, I was just checking the accuracy of the financial statements. I was just checking their legal compliance. And so that was, neither was it adding providing any purpose to me कि हाँ मैंने ये achieve कर लिया at the end of the day, कि मुझे एक sense of accomplishment है कि चलो ये तो आज मैंने अच्छा काम किया है. So और ना ही इस छोटे function से there was any contribution to the society or to the company even. So I'm not saying कि ये एक essential function नहीं है किसी भी economy में. Of course, it is a very important work, no matter how brunt and meaningless it might sound to others. This is an essential function, and a lot of people might derive satisfaction out of this also. Because also I very interestingly during the busy season only, so the manager who I used to report to daily. So I asked him casually. I was a little frustrated also at the time. So I said, "Do you really enjoy your job?" And it was, when I look back, it was a little immature on my part. And he was also taken aback for a moment. And he says, "Yeah, I think it pays me well, and I like to do this. What about you?" So I said, I'm not sure if I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
Give me a perspective. That person was how much years into the job?
I think
this is the first year, but that
upwards of 5 years. I think he was a chartered accountant.
Oh boy. Yeah. Did he message you, or did whatever she or he message you back?
No, I don't know, not yet, because we haven't stayed in touch after I quit my job.
It would be so interesting to see how lives intersect with respect to ideas. The person would be viewing an interview like this, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I should have thought deeper," and maybe it changes the trajectory of.
So that life. Is when this first thought came. This first thought came that what am I doing? इससे तो किसी को कोई फायदा, एटलीस्ट ना मुझे पर्पस मिल रहा है, ना किसी की लाइफ ट्रांसफॉर्म हो रही है. So, and also I've always been a person who may not be that regular with newspaper, but from school times I used to enjoy reading newspaper, especially editorials हो गए और international news हो गई. Although economy मुझे तब school time में इतना नहीं समझ में आता था, but I used to enjoy and know कि क्या चल रहा है, what's happening around me. So this practice continued while I was in my job also, that whenever I could get time, I used to read the newspaper. And also, I remember that around that time only, I came across this video of Vikram Grewal, sir. So wherein he was asked in an interview that why did you decide to go for this path? अच्छा, इसका एक pre-episode ये भी है कि because I was not enjoying my job, so I was deliberating कि अब कुछ तो करना है आगे. Either I have to do masters or I have to take up another field. So, and I also came across this video of Vikram sir, wherein he was asked, why did you go for this? So, also interestingly, he had made interesting choices. Like he did his 12th +2 from the science stream. Then he pursued history honors, and then he went into civil services, and he was in dramatics society of his college. So it's a very, I would say, it's a mixed pot with respect to him.
Yeah.
तो ही सेड कि मैं ऐसे फील्ड में जाना चाहता था कि जहाँ पे आई डू नॉट रिमेम्बर एग्जैक्टली स्पोर्ट पर वो समथिंग अराउंड द लाइंस की जहाँ पे मुझे डिफरेंट चीजें पढ़ने को मिले. तो उसमें मुझे मजा आएगा कि मैं एक मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो जाएगी. बहुत ज्यादा क्वांट फोकस्ड भी नहीं होगा या बहुत ज्यादा कोई एक सब्जेक्ट फोकस्ड नहीं होगा. तो इट वुड बी एन इंटरसेक्शन ऑफ डिफरेंट डिसिप्लिन्स. So I sort of related to that कि हाँ, that is something interesting to read. So उस टाइम पे ये जो गोल था कि ये सब पढ़ने के बाद I would be a bureaucrat, तो वो एक सेकेंडरी चीज थी. प्राइमरी ये था कि एटलीस्ट ये सब पढ़ने में मुझे मजा तो आएगा, ठीक है, क्योंकि वो अभी जॉब में तो मजा नहीं आ रहा है. तो वो एक मैं ढूंढ रही थी कि सम अट्रैक्शन. So I decided to give a try. I remember कि I downloaded this PDF of Spectrum from somewhere, history. So I always enjoyed reading history in school days also. So I downloaded this Spectrum and a newspaper also, not very regular. And I started enjoying, of course. And then I decided, why not go for this only? Of course, and I searched upon the job profile. And since he was also into IFS and his motivation and what is the kind of work that IFS do, तो वो जो एक मेरा जॉब के टाइम पीरियड वाला था चीज. एंड ऑल्सो हाँ, आईएफएस का एक मोटिवेशन ये भी बिकॉज आई हैड डन MUNs ड्यूरिंग माई कॉलेज. तो उसमें आई यूज्ड टू रियली एंजॉय डूइंग दैट, रिप्रेजेंटिंग कंट्रीज ऑन डिफरेंट इशूज इन UNGA, UNHRC, the committees, preparing policy papers and stuff. तो वो भी एक मुझे इंटरसेक्शन दिख रहा था वहां पे कि हाँ चलो ये एक फील्ड होगी जो मुझे वो रीलिव करने का एक्सपीरियंस देगी एक्चुअल सेटिंग में. वो तो मैं सिमुलेशन में कर रही थी, एंड दिस वुड बी एक्चुअल एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ डूइंग व्हाट आई लव टू डू. So all of this collided, multidisciplinary learning and then diplomacy, and hence I decided कि हाँ चलो अब just give it a break and start studying.
Awesome. Which makes me take a small question with you. Spectrum पढ़ के तो feel बहुत कम लोगों को आ पाती है. Honestly, it's more like a back to back point wise book. What were the first books which you read outside the syllabus? Maybe which kind of gave you a sense that this is something else, or was it your MUN experience a motivating factor? Yeah, it's cute. Like you seem like a curious aspirant, someone who follows the heart and stuff. So what was among the first thing which kind of rekindled that fire? Ki yaar ye bahut sahi hai. Vikram Grewal sir is one. And then what are the initial books that you perhaps read?
Okay, so I would say, अच्छा, initial books में there was this 2 to 3 books I would name क्योंकि बहुत कम time period मुझे मिलता था वहाँ पे. तो Khalid Hosseini is a famous American Afghani novelist. So I have the Kite Runner, 1,000 Splendid Suns, and one more book that came after that. So I used to read his books and I really enjoyed how he represented Afghanistan, the challenges, the Soviet invasion. So and naturally because I had an interest in geopolitics due to MUN, so I really that stuff. And I also remember around that same time. Yeah, around this, a cousin of mine had left his book 1984 by Orwell at my place. George Orwell's 1984. So I casually picked up that book also, and I really enjoyed reading. You know, the kind of social engineering aspect that he presented and how dictatorship works. तो बहुत सारे intersections थे between कि जो एक geopolitical angle मुझे अफगानिस्तान का मिला through Khalid Hosseini's works. And then, of course, MUN वाला past experience था, तो उसमें भी I had read about a lot of things going on across the world. And then in 1984 वाला चीज, तो ये इन सब चीजों से भी मुझे लगा कि यार ये तो मतलब पढ़ने में मजा आएगा. Initial lift. And especially the 1984 वाली बुक के बाद कि एक सोशियोलॉजी का भी मुझे उसमें फिर इंटरेस्ट लगा कि knowing about the society, how ideology, how power actually works, how it makes a people function in a particular way. तो जब ये डिसीजन लिया कि हाँ परस्यू करना है, एंड व्हेन आई वाज पार्सिंग थ्रू द सिलेबस ऑफ डिफरेंट ऑप्शनल्स, तो मुझे सोशियोलॉजी में इस वजह से भी इंटरेस्ट आया बिकॉज ऑफ व्हाट आई रेड, कि हाँ मुझे उस टाइप के कॉन्सेप्ट्स यहाँ पे पढ़ने में मजा आएगा. तो ये
And I'm
कुछ
assuming you took
इनिशियल.
sociology as your optional then?
या
Did you take
सो
sociology?
या यस आई टुक सोशियोलॉजी.
Perfect. Thanks for this. I think this is what I want to, help everyone know. What were the early impressions which kind of guided your way in the exam preparation? Because these are the things which kind of give you the early lift, like we said, and they take you through, and some of the inspiration, they take you through the process, which are important. Okay, which makes me come to an interesting question कि because your journey is unique, ऐसा कुछ बचपन का सपना नहीं था, ऐसा कुछ पेरेंट्स की तरफ से वो नहीं था, and you mentioned कि they were slightly apprehensive because it's well known UPSC is an unpredictable exam, however academically strong you may have been. And then you found your way in. What are some of the things which you found in your UPSC preparation which you truly believe in, but others may disagree with, or very few would see the preparation the way you see? मतलब ऐसी कौन सी personal journey की discovered चीजें हैं जो तुम कहते हो क्या I think this is it, this is what makes a difference?
Yeah, okay. So I have this habit of writing down everything. So, acha, interestingly, this hobby I've also picked from Vikram Grewal, sir. So he had this diary. He used to call it. I think he's mentioned it in one of his blogs that he used to call it a diary of everything. Like anything and everything he found, whatever he might have read or whatever he wanted to do, he used to write that in his diary. So I also have a couple of diaries where I used to write. तो जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई गिव एन एग्जाम्पल ऑफ कि मैंने एक एथिक्स का टेस्ट दिया था, एंड कंटिन्यूसली आई गिवन 2 to 3 टेस्ट ऑफ एथिक्स, एंड आई वाज स्कोरिंग पोorly. आई वाज स्कोरिंग इन 70s, एंड आई वाज आल्सो मिसिंग द पेपर. So then I decided कि मैं ये खुद analyze, after analyzing both the papers, so it's better to write down your analysis instead of keeping it in your mind. So I have this habit of writing down everything, be it my schedule or be it my shortcomings or be it my strategy also. So everything just doesn't stay in mind. I write it down. तो मैंने उसमें after analyzing both the papers, I wrote down कि देखो तुम 2 introductions लिख रही हो. That is a problem. तुम कॉन्टेक्चुअल इंट्रो नहीं दे रही हो, तुम बहुत ज्यादा अच्छा. व्हाट आई यूज्ड टू डू कि अगर 10 मार्क्स क्वेश्चन है तो कम से कम 8-9 पॉइंट्स तो बनने चाहिए. दैट वाज देयर इन माय माइंड. तो आई यूज्ड टू सिट बैक एंड थिंक इंस्टेड ऑफ मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट आंसर कि शायद बाद में पॉइंट याद आ जाए, एंड कंप्लीटिंग द पेपर इज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट इंस्टेड ऑफ पॉन्डरिंग ओवर वन क्वेश्चन. So I wrote everything down ki where I was going wrong. So I'm not sure if everybody follows that, but I have this habit of writing things down. And even in my essay strategy, I used to write down कि दोनों essays में क्या difference होगा, कब मैं connecting para use करूंगी, कैसे मैं continuity maintain करूंगी, कहाँ पे anecdote दूंगी, कहाँ पे example दूंगी. So I used to write it down. And जो same skeletal framework एक मैंने उससे बना लिया था, which I had mentioned जब मैं essay के test भी लिखती थी तो भी मैं rough space में I used to write down that skeletal framework कि ऐसे approach करना है मुझे.
You have that diary with you, like you must be having that thing, right?
Yeah, I'm having that diary on my desk only. I'll just show it to you.
Just flip out and like show some pages if you can.
Yeah, okay. Just a second.
This year, what we have done is we are giving our students a planner of sorts, because I think this is a recent thing now which people are doing, right? Everyday thought. It kind of helps in bringing you in terms with the reality. Pick up a page, which is okay. And so we are giving out planners to every one of our students, and some of them may do this.
So I have not from my mains preparation, but during my interview preparation, the feedback that I had written down in this diary.
Okay.
So it's like this. So I have mentioned it also in Civilsdaily interview. What I wrote down, that don't drop keywords that might attract panel's attention. So this was one panelist feedback. So an example also what I had used, and on which point he had mentioned this. So I used to write it down. If I come across, okay, so I had this notepad of mine was there, where I used to, but this is more of a study wala part, कि यहाँ पे जो newspaper में important places थी, I used to write that down. So this Snake Island was very much in news because of Russia-Ukraine conflict. And like this, I've mentioned places in news. So I had this habit, although it's a map work based thing, but I have this habit of writing down things in points.
Nice.
So
And
that
you
was
also used to write down pointers to yourself, like do not forget this.
yeah,
You tend to do this mistake again and again, like a letter to
yeah,
yourself kind of a thing.
yeah. I used to do that on my because I have a Samsung phone on my Samsung Notes. So right now also
Acha.
I in my notes I have prepared a schedule for the next week. Ki, is then I have to give an interview to this. Is then I have a felicitation ceremony. This I have to reach there by this. So this is a note to self also. And quite interestingly, we had this group of five friends from sociology who were appearing for the interview. So we used to take mocks of each other. So, for example, if I have to take a mock of my friend at night, so in my Samsung notes, I would just write down 4 to 5 questions that I will have to ask. So, although it's
Nice.
a very small thing, but I would mention it in my notes कि वो मेरे सिर्फ दिमाग में ना रहे या मैं कुछ भूल ना जाऊं. I'll write it down.
No, I think it's a very good practice. And most of us, we do not go for it. We think of a lot of ideas, we feel happy and we feel like, soch liya hai to kar bhi denge. But writing actually helps. When you commit something to paper, it opens a new vista altogether. On the same note, tell me one bad recommendation for UPSC prep, which you realize कि नहीं यार ये नहीं करना, which is mostly a common wisdom, but you came to realize कि नहीं, this is a bad recommendation or it didn't work for me. Anything which
Okay. Yeah. So there are two things actually. The first is some of the rank holders. I don't know I don't know why do they recommend this, but some of them say that newspapers are not that essential, and you can easily manage with your monthly and your yearly compilations. So the basic difference between how a newspaper presents a news and how a monthly compilation does is the monthly compilation does it in a very mechanical manner. कि वो बस आपको एक पॉइंट्स में दे देंगे कि ये फैक्ट्स हैं और ये तुम याद कर लो. बट न्यूज़पेपर सेट्स द कॉन्टेक्स्ट फॉर इट क्योंकि दे आर प्रेजेंटिंग एन इवेंट अराउंड दैट हैपनिंग. तो वो पूरा एक मूड आई वुड से वो एक मूड बना के देते हैं पूरा कि ये इस कंट्री के बीच में हिस्ट्री रही है और these accords have been signed but this is the conflict going on. तो अब इसमें वर्ल्ड लीडर्स का ये कहना है और they also give the quotes of different leaders. So you sort of have that thing in mind कि different countries का क्या opinion हो सकता है इस issue पे. तो newspaper present it in that manner. No, I think newspaper reading is a habit which everybody should form, and of course, monthly compilations आपको editorials तो नहीं देंगे. And editorials, I would say it's a gold standard for the aspirants. I don't have my newspaper here, but I will show you probably in my phone also. So what I used to do while reading newspaper is that I used to underline with red pen the good points from the editorials that I would be using in my mains answer, or and I will. So I used to keep this in mind कि मुझे ये अपने mains के notes में add करना है. So I used to underline that part, take a picture, and my phone's gallery is literally classified according to the syllabus heads. ये social justice में जाएगा, ये women empowerment में जाएगा, ये foreign relations में जाएगा, and all these albums have the pictures of those editorials. So maybe this worked out for me, but लेकिन ये मुझे थोड़ी सी senseless suggestion लगता है कि newspaper is dispensable because I don't think it is.
Okay. So we've covered the very quirky, very personal things that you started, which not many recommend or know about, which is writing, and this thing that newspaper padhna chahiye, nahi padhna chahiye. Here's a big question now. If you have, like I said, if you have the world stage for 5 minutes, and everyone would listen to this video, it gets like 1 million views plus. What are some of the essential things about UPSC Prep which you truly believe in, looking at the whole journey of ups and downs, which you will give to someone who's starting right now? Yeah. And do not hesitate. Get the hypocrisy of the preparation out, get the high points of the preparation out, everything. Just summarize the whole experience in 5 minutes or so. Yeah.
So I would, like we discussed over call also, I wouldn't say that it's too okay because I don't want to invite a lot of criticism for that. But I think it's just fine if you are indecisive at a point. I had this one of my relatives who said to me that if you had planned on giving UPSC, you should have started right from the eligibility age, from 21. So I started from the age of 22. So just a 1 year delay to that. So he said, had you been younger, so it would have been more prudent because you will get a long service, you will go on to become secretary and stuff like that. तो क्योंकि ये तुम्हारा दिखाता है कि ये तुम indecisive थी, पहले तुमने कुछ और किया. फिर तुम कॉर्पोरेट में चली गई, फिर एकदम से तुमने सोचा कि मैं ये करूंगी प्रिपरेशन। तो ये उनका कहना था कि ये चीजें ना इंसान स्कूल से या कॉलेज से सोच के रखता है, जो तुमने नहीं रखी। बट आई गेट हिज व्यू पॉइंट्स, देयर इज अ जनरेशन गैप, ऑफ कोर्स, in those times the opportunities were less. They had to be sure where they want to go, and with a lot of families the resources were also quite less. The incomes earned by people weren't that great, so they couldn't afford to spend their limited resources in coaching for different things. They had to make up their mind कि हाँ ये करना है, और जो थोड़े बहुत पैसे हैं इसी की कोचिंग पे लगाने हैं, इसी के टेस्ट सीरीज पे लगाने हैं. But I think, and this can vary from person to person depending upon their financial standing and affordability also. So, like I said, sorry, I forgot the question.
This is the 5 minute. This is your 5 minute airtime. That something.
Okay, yeah. So anything I can say, yeah, that brings out maybe the hypocrisy of the preparation. Yeah. So it's okay to be indecisive, but with respect to the career choices, कि हाँ आपने because you are a different person in school, then in college, then in your adulthood. You are an evolving person. Your choices can evolve. Okay, and we have examples of people who have gotten into civil services in early attempts, done their service for a good 10 years. They have quit, and they are now consultants to big companies, to MBV and all, and Big Four. So it's okay. They have, people say कि तो फिर आपने एक सीट क्यों खाई, फिर आप इस फील्ड में आए क्यों जब आपको प्राइवेट सेक्टर में जाना था. He was a different person 10 years ago. He's a different person now. So that is completely fine, I think.
And that's a very mature outlook, something which, I am a 2009 graduate from IIT. So मेरे time पे at least 4-5 years into the service, people used to have this kind of outlook. कि, अच्छा, they used to relieve them of the burden of the past, so as to say, which you kind of did in the very first year. And which reminds me, you also mentioned that you had written CAT, and you were very practical about life choices. And there's a very interesting framework which you had in mind. Why would you go for public versus private? Just tell the audience about that angle, because that came out as a very mature way of, kind of thinking through a problem or thinking through a life choice.
So, I would give a disclaimer to it. Please listen to it with caution. Okay? Only apply as per your discretion. So then after my first attempt, I also decided to see, everybody knows that increasing age also has a downsides in terms of your demand in the job market. Because why would they hire a 25-year-old with gaps as opposed to a 21-year fresh graduate with internship experience, with the soft skills that are currently in demand? It's a very logical take on the part of the employer as well. So of course you cannot put all your eggs in one basket, right? So, so, and you also don't have to be apologetic about your choices. कि हाँ मैंने कॉर्पोरेट छोड़ दिया, तो अब मैं क्या मुंह लेके प्राइवेट सेक्टर में जाऊं, अभी तो मैंने उसकी इतनी बुराई कर दी, तो अब मैं क्यों जाऊं? Not like we cannot generalize a phenomena or a sector कि हाँ हर जगह ऐसा होता है. Of course, it must be having domains where people are doing meaningful work. Maybe right out of college, I didn't get that opportunity to experience that kind of phenomena. Had I been in a different domain, maybe I would have continued. I wouldn't have gotten into bureaucracy then. So it's completely fine. So right after my mains got over in September, and the CAT usually happens in November every year. So I decided कि हाँ अब कुछ तो backup लेके चलना है. अब एक attempt हो चुका है. My age is also increasing, and so there is this one intersectionality that I talked about with you over call. कि I decided कि हाँ चलो अगर CAT मैं कर भी लूँ कल को, ये तो दिमाग में श्योर था. I wouldn't be going into finance related stuff because I have done in the past and I don't enjoy it. What would be the kind of specialization या किस डोमेन में, किस इंडस्ट्री में I would like to work, जहाँ पे मेरा ये जहाँ पे फिर से मोनोटनी ना आए, जहाँ पे फिर से मुझे रिग्रेट ना हो. So I realized that marketing is one domain. So essentially ours is a mixed economy. So all the aspirants would be able to relate to this. So ours is a mixed economy. Please. So the service delivery is done both by the private and the public sector. It's just that when the government does it, largely it's a public good, freely available to all. And when the private sector does it, it's for a value, and which is for the same reason they have very aggressive marketing, because they have to come across as the best, that see, we are providing value for your money. So I think a public service delivery wala jo motive hai, that was the intersection, that was the commonality between the marketing domain and between a civil servant's career. So I thought कि अगर मैं MBA करके इस फील्ड में जाती हूँ ना, at least I will be satisfied. कि हाँ चलो अगर वहां पे नहीं हुआ, एटलीस्ट आई एम मतलब मैं एक ऐसा प्रोडक्ट सेल कर पाऊंगी, एक ऐसी सर्विस सेल कर पाऊंगी जो या तो कस्टमर की ग्रीवेंस रिड्रेस करेगा या उसे सेटिस्फैक्शन देगा, उसे यूटिलिटी प्रोवाइड करेगा. So that was naturally I took a CAT for that, and fortunately I converted one of the best colleges for marketing in India. I converted MICA. I'm not sure if any, lot of you know.
Oh, awesome! Yes, yes, for advertisements and it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so it's the mecca of advertising, and quite interestingly, in my MICA interview also, they said that why a switch from that to a college which is in a niche field. So you could have gone for a general MBA and a gen man or a prod man role, no? So although I didn't have that much percentile also to begin with, but then why this niche college after all this? Why are you taking a chance with this? तो वहां पे भी I had given this reasoning only कि ये एक commonality थी मेरी उस जर्नी में, जो एटलीस्ट मैं ये मोटिव तो satisfy कर पाऊंगी marketing या advertising.
You told them about your UPSC thing also? You told them about कि either it's going to be...
Yeah, because in my CV I had gapped, so I had to tell them why I had this gap, right, of 2 years. So why I had this gap, so I had to tell them that. So yeah, naturally the questions followed.
That's so nice, you know. And I'm just taking a step back and just trying to understand the level of authenticity with the rankers that I'm speaking with over the last 1.5 years. It's like sky high. There is nothing is taboo. Everything has like a sense of you've thought through it. And if you've given this answer at MICA interview and you converted MICA, I think they also appreciate this way of thinking, and which only goes on to show that the level of maturity that this whole process of UPSC preparation gives you a kind of step back.
And you know what, I've also realized this, that not just honest, you don't have to be apologetic about your choices. You know, own up your choices. This is your life, your interest diverged at some point. There are some converging points between two different things that you might be pursuing. So this is your life, and you know, there's this famous saying also, you know, of Nelson Mandela, I think, for someone, that you are the master of your fate and the captain of your ship or something like that. So you are the one in the driving seat and you are not answerable to anybody. Of course, apart from your parents, they are the direct stakeholders in your life. But apart from that, you're not answerable to anybody कि मैंने इस point पे ये किया और बाद में मैंने ये कर लिया. कल को, and I feel कि had I not appeared for CAT, had I not secured a seat in MICA, and God forbid if I would have failed this attempt, where would I have been? I would have been again preparing, and the amount of mental stress that would have put on me in going for the third attempt, and again that year of uncertainty. So of course everything happens for the good, and you just have to be confident of your choices.
Awesome. Have you heard this song from Frank Sinatra? I Did It My Way. Very famous old song. Frank Sinatra.
Yes, I've heard of his name, but okay. I've not.
I'll give you the link. I have two questions now. One is about, where do you derive these convictions from, that you know you don't have to be apologetic about it, you have to just think it through? And is this something from family? Is this something you developed over time, or is it something the UPSC journey kind of gave it to you because you sat with yourself? You had probably some shares of your failures as well. This was a second attempt. Ye conviction points kahan se aaya? These are like very legit, mature conviction points.
Okay. So I think there are 2 to 3 sources from which these points came. So like first from my mother. So my mother is a master's in chemistry from Aligarh Muslim University. And she always had this, she was all decided that she wants to go into teaching. And naturally chemistry only. But when she gave the exam, she was a teacher in the central school, Kendriya Vidyalaya. So when she gave the exam, naturally she was looking forward to getting a seat for the PGT chemistry, but there was no vacancy available at the time, and she had to choose maths. And she became a maths teacher. She spent 33 years teaching a subject which she had not initially envisioned. But when she says that now when I look back, I am not apologetic about my choice. And especially a subject like maths, which is which will help you throughout your career, no matter where you go, be it your CSAT, CAT, everywhere. In every exam, it is the sine qua non. And a good foundation, and if you have a good foundation in maths, I think you'll always remember your teachers, your school, that how they build that foundation. And because of that, she has earned so much admiration from her students till date who have gone into different fields. So she feels that it's okay. Like I had done my master's in chemistry, I couldn't do research in that or maybe go into teaching, but I did this, and now she is happy with the choice she made. So first was this, and secondly, like we talked about call also. So I used to be very active on Reddit and stuff. So I think it's great in the sense that it's an anonymized platform where people can share their stories. And I was active in subs like, of course, UPSC was there, CAT was there, consulting was there, and geopolitics and Indian history and stuff, fiction and stuff. So I used to come across the stories of a lot of people who were in the cycle, in the UPSC cycle. They completely switched over. And especially when I was deliberating upon this CAT decision also. So then I came across people with the gap years in UPSC who decided to change their domains altogether. And the kind of motivations that they had from past experiences or from their family and friends' experiences. Like for maybe a particular person who had done his CFA back in the college days, went into UPSC, and then he decided to do an MBA and go for a finance job. So that completely justifies कि हाँ उसको एक knowledge भी थी, उसको एक interest था. So like मेरा एक जो public service delivery वाला option है, so I sort of discovered that commonality after going through people's experiences कि उन्होंने कैसे converging points निकाले अपने different experiences से. So that was there.
That's so nice. Okay. We discussed over the phone that this process kind of also nudged you towards the journey inwards, slightly more spiritual. Your failures kind of stayed with you. What was your favorite failure like?
Favorite failure, I would say it would be my first prelim, when I failed the first prelims. And, I'm actually very grateful for that, because I realized that my mains preparation was not up to the mark. I hadn't read ethics even once. Neither were my notes consolidated. And I hadn't written even one essay. And this is almost 1.5 years into preparation. 1 year of preparation before giving my first attempt, and I've given my first attempt and failed it. Abhi tak, I have not read ethics. I have not written any essay. So now when I look back, I realize कि अगर मैं वो prelims clear भी कर लेती, I would have definitely failed that mains. और वो एक ज्यादा बड़ा जोल्ट होता मेरे लिए, because then again next prelims में ज्यादा time नहीं होता है. So I'm really thankful for that failure. I woke up because of that, and I remember कि जिस दिन result आया है from I took a break for 2 to 3 days, and after 2 to 3 days I started consolidating my ethics notes. I started reading ethics. I wrote maybe 1 or 2 answers, not much, but I read ethics answers. So I prepared ethics first. I prepared my optional notes. I decided to go for a crash course in essay to strategize and stuff, and then I did a lot of mains oriented preparation till December. And also the motivation key, I was just 1.33 marks away from the GS cutoff. That also sort of put me in a safe place to go for mains oriented preparation. So yes, I would definitely call it a favorite failure.
And how did that lead you to an inwards journey? Like just zoom in, slow down, and tell me so prelims came and it failed, and I'm assuming this wisdom is slightly on the hindsight. Abhi aap bata rahe ho, us waqt it would have been a jolt, or you would have loved to crack it in the very first time. But how did you slow down? How did you collect yourself up? What were the few rituals or few things which helped you stay, in the right head in your journey? And then, talk something about your spiritual journey. Yeah, what do you think aage kya hone wale?
Okay. No, maybe not necessarily spiritual, but I also, fortunately, till then I had been preparing alone, all alone in isolation. I didn't know any person who was into preparation besides a senior from school. He was into preparation, so I used to discuss with him. But besides that, I had no group at all. So I was all on my own. But quite fortunately, see how things are aligned, and as I say that it's all written in destiny. So I came across a person on Reddit who was forming a group specifically for mains oriented preparation, and that too focused on ethics first. So I thought this is my place. मैंने ethics नहीं पढ़ा है, मैंने mains oriented preparation नहीं start करी है. I need to get on board with this group. So it was a group of 4 to 5 people. A lot of people left also in some states. And we formed a really good group. We prepared common notes. We discussed ethics answers and case studies. And I was confident about my ethics preparation by then. And I'm greatly indebted to that friends group of mine. So वो मैं एक कहूँगी कि it was a God-sent opportunity, truly a God-sent opportunity, that one day I was just scrolling through Reddit and this person has said that if you want to join a group, just ping me and stuff like that. And then the whole process began. So yeah, I do consider it as a God-sent opportunity then.
And what held you? Did you have any, so you must be getting overwhelmed throughout the journey. Kabhi hota hoga, day would go by and nothing would be you're moving ahead. What were some of your hacks to get back into the game? Were there any hacks? Yeah, you were like this, no, just snap out, get back into the game.
Yeah, so one hack, like I told you, was scoring poorly in a difficult mock test. Yeah, one is there. And besides that, so I have very few friends or maybe I've stayed in touch with only a few friends of mine. So there are 3 friends from school, 1 from college I am still in touch with. And I used to call them up and, okay, this might also come across as a rant for the corporate, but then they also used to, so it used to be very free flowing conversation with my friends, wherein I used to put my heart out that how monotonous this is getting, how I'm getting bored, I'm missing out on a lot of parties you guys are attending and stuff. And they need to rant about at least you are studying for greater glory. यहाँ तो हम 9 to 5 वही कर रहे हैं. And they used to rant about their bosses कि ये हो रहा है, इतना toxic competitive environment है, and people just don't care about your efforts, they are so thankless. तो वो एक two-way process होता था to feel better off. तो मुझे लगता था यार, at least I'm better off, at least I'm preparing for something जहाँ पे grind करके I would do something meaningful. So that was there. And besides this, उस conversation I think like my friends also used to encourage कि we have seen you in college, and besides MUN also was a part of the editorial board of my commerce department, and I used to write on geo-economics and domestic economic issues, political issues quite rarely, but majorly focused on economic. So they used to say that if you have that, okay, so quite interestingly, both these activities require you to be proficient in communication, both verbal and written. So they knew that I had this first mover advantage in this UPSC preparation because of these 2 experiences. So they used to say कि interview तुम कर लोगी, you'll nail it. If you can speak amongst a lot of people in MUN conferences, तो यहाँ तो you have to speak in front of 5 people only. And that too, you will be backed up by knowledge, your GS knowledge. और तब तो कितने naive arguments होते थे when I look back. कि जो हम college में होते थे, कितने naive arguments, just fancy words पे हम लोग debate कर रहे होते थे. So they used to say कि अब तो तुम arm up हो चुकी हो with knowledge. And writing का भी they had so much faith कि you just need a little bit guidance, and you've written articles and stuff, so you'll be good to go. So वो एक hype up भी होता था, and that two-way rant जो होती थी to feel that you are better off than others and you are on the right path. So that used to push me.
And you did get 198 in the interview, so I'm sure they would say we told you so, or some kind of thing, right? That you did get. How many people in that ethics group, that small group, cleared the ranks this year, apart from you?
No, not really, because a lot of them went, they gave other government exams. So one of them, 2 of them are in IB, and one of them is in ICAR. So they are working at other places, but they're still in the process. They'll be giving attempts with the job. So yeah, that's there.
Awesome. Best of luck for them in advance. We're towards the end of this chat now, okay? And there's so much that you've said. Academically, to humne kahin gaye nahi, but I'm sure you're visiting office sometime very soon.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And you must be knowing Saket sir is also a big MUN.
Yes, of course. In fact, when we had this DAF one-to-one session, before I finally submitted by DAF, I had scheduled a session with a couple of people. So that one was Saket sir also, and he had said that I have also been actively into it. So I would say it was a stupid mistake only. So in my hobby section, I'd mentioned the awards of the MUNs and also the topics on which I had debated. So he said that you don't need to do all this for UPSC because you are just giving them a talking point. You don't need to go into the nitty gritties कि मैंने यहाँ पे menstrual hygiene issues पे एक जीता था और female reproductive rights पे जीता था या ये awards और terminology, high commendation, best delegate, special mention. So these are the MUN terminologies of the awards. So you just have to write best delegate and stuff. So because of that MUN experience, तो मैंने थोड़ा generalize किया अपने DAC को. Of course, otherwise a lot of talking points would have opened up, and I would have then I would have to prepare a lot on those issues in Indian context, especially. So yeah, that was a very good experience, and he has always hyped me up since day one that you are a 180 plus candidate and you have done MUNs. You don't need to worry about the interview part and all. So yeah, it's quite helpful. Yeah.
Okay, cool. One interesting thing and very, very serious, important thing which we've observed is this super awareness of mental health, which aspirants and then rankers kind of leave no stone unturned to talk about. We had rank 2 this year, like I was talking about Animesh, who went through the tragedies that he went through and came to the office, went live and just very openly talked about it. And in fact, kind of requested the Janta ki everyone should think of therapy at least once a month or something if you are going through something. And this kind of makes it, a non-taboo issue for the Janta at large. We're even trying to work with some of you rankers to include the proper frameworks of mental health and stuff in our pedagogy. But tell me, were there some low points in your preparation apart from the failure of prelims? Were there some low points which are like so unglamorous कि आप बात भी नहीं कर सकते किसी से उसके बारे में, but then you have to kind of get yourself up, work towards. Did you face something specific or your friends face something specific which you would love to share?
Not really. Just apart from one incident, I would really call myself fortunate to have not experienced the kind of lows that people go through, and I really admire them for standing up after the tragedies that they have to go through. So, and this was during the course of my mains preparation. So, the day I had my GS3 and GS4 paper, so the night before, one of my aunts passed away that night. Okay. So in the morning, I have my GS3 and GS4 paper, and previous night she passed away. She was my mommy. And she had been ill since quite a few time, but of course, passing away of a family member, it sort of jolts you for a bit, especially when you have an important exam and you have already given exam a day prior and you did not have that breathing space also. So, and a lot of people were coming to home and stuff like that. And especially her face and the way she used to talk and everything was going on in my mind while I was writing down the GS3 paper. But I kept on writing, and this is probably one of the reasons, I don't know, mark sheet hasn't come out yet, but probably one of the reasons why I feel that my GS3 did not go that good, because I was so much mentally occupied that I could only pen down the things that were there in my subconscious, क्योंकि मैंने वो answers लिख चुके थे या वो facts and figures कभी याद किए थे, तो I was not actively in the room. I was somewhere else mentally. So I would say, but still, like you said, rank 2, I mean, he went through a real tragedy and it's so courageous on his part. And I really admire him for the kind of courage that he showed by talking about mental health and stuff. And I do think that, also one thing that I would like to mention was between the 2 attempts, I feel there were a lot of changes in my attitude also and my mindset regarding the exam. Like in my first attempt, I was a very serious person. And anytime I indulged in any outing or any leisure activity, I instantly used to feel guilty. So then I couldn't enjoy that activity as well. And of course, my mind was somewhere else. मैं पढ़ क्यों नहीं रही हूँ और इसी के लिए मैंने gap लिया था क्या ये मैं क्या कर रही हूँ. So I would say I was a little unforgiving towards myself during my first attempt. But right after my prelims got over, I went on a family trip. Like I went with my mother and my cousins. We went to Kerala, we went to Bangalore. So and this was after so many years. During my college also hadn't been anywhere, and especially after in the course of preparation, you cannot even think कि मतलब हमें लेंगे. sojourn. So that I think वो एक probably one of the best decisions था. And उसके बाद उस trip के बाद ना मैं sort of खुल गई कि मुझे लगा कि यार इतना भी मतलब मुझे I don't need to be in a cocoon just stuffed up in my room ना कि मैं किसी से बात नहीं कर रही हूँ और मैं कहीं जा नहीं रही हूँ. तो वो एक enlightening trip थी मेरे लिए. And after that, after my mains also, I went out with my friends and I went to Missouri for a 2-day trip. Although I didn't visit the academy because I thought that I'll come here with proper credentials. I will not go there as a visitor. I'll come here when I'll be worthy of this academy. But it was a good trip. I hadn't been anywhere with my friends, so I was more social, I feel, and outgoing in my second attempt. So that also sort of relieves your mental pressure. कि it's just an exam, इतना भी sacrifice नहीं करना है. Especially, अच्छा, and also again a note of caution here कि you don't have to be very frivolous also कि हम हर वक्त घूमते रहें. But I was able to do this. I could afford to be so social because I had done a maximum part after my first attempt. After like I said कि मैंने मेंस ओरिएंटेड प्रेप कर ली थी और क्योंकि मैंने मेरा जो बेसिक फाउंडेशन एनसीईआरटी वगैरह का था वो फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट के थ्रू हो चुका था. ठीक है, so it was very few things were left to be done. That's why I could afford this trip. So you have to be very honest with your level of preparation also while taking a break. So this is one key takeaway.
Perfect. I think when you come to office, we'll talk about all the essentials of this whole journey. This chart is more about, the whole journey. Someone can just relax, having food, can just watch this as a nice story. Cool. This is the end of Raw and Real. Wardah, thank you for coming here on short notice. Before you go, tell me what part of this Raw and Real was like good for you? Like what was unexpected or something that you enjoyed? I take it as a feedback and improve the next version.
So I'm really scared also how this would come across, and I hope I have not given very frivolous recommendations to people, or I don't come across as a ranker जिसको देख के people would say कि यार ये तो निकाल लेते हैं तो कुछ भी बोलते हैं ये फिर तो. It has been a very unhinged conversation, but I've actually enjoyed it because I think I haven't been this heart to heart, especially for something so formal. With anybody. Of course, we are very informal with friends about preparation. कि हम उनसे hypocrisy of preparation we can discuss. But doing it on a platform is something that I hadn't done because I used to think I would be cancelled out instantly if I said anything that doesn't align with the principles required. So I hope people would be able to relate to it, and it was a great opportunity.
They would. Trust me, and I'm sure you would be very busy if to go somewhere. But rank 3 last year, Uma, who was one of our main faculty at that, she said that in the last attempt she had burned all the notes. कोई काम के नहीं है इतने सारे current affairs के. She had just reduced it to 50 themes, nothing more. And and she said,
okay,
that's
so
what I
just
did.
In a similar vein, like I said, I used to have at least a week's newspaper on my desk. But after my interview and all ended, मैंने सारे newspapers I just like मैंने carton में भरे, मैंने store room में रख दी कि अब नहीं, अब I don't want to even look at them. And another this okay, I don't know how it will come across, but जितने भी pens मैंने use किए थे during my mains preparation, I'd seen a picture of Kanish Kataria sir. I don't know if that is authentic, if it really was his picture. So he had collected all the pens that he had used during mains preparation, all the empty refills. So I still have that stacked up with me, or all the pens, empty pens that I've used. So whenever I used to look at that box, I used to feel proud and elated. See, this is the amount that I've put into the ink. Has maybe it will write a revolution, or maybe it won't. But it used to remind me of the hard work.
Well, that's so awesome. If you can just get that stack together, share the pic with you in front of it, and we'll put that on the thumbnail. And I understand why you're slightly apprehensive about, coming out heart to heart, but trust me, like you have some very nice quirky points about it, but every ranker has shared every different thing. There was a ranker, I think Pratik, he's an IPS. He said that, it was his dog who used to cuddle and, keep up, and usne sara thick and thing when he, helped him get past through all the ups and downs. And, because this is as real as it gets. If we do not paint the right picture, then for any incoming aspirant, because the exam is so formal and because it's like the toughest exam in India, you're all serious, you're all somber, and it's like it becomes very life and death. It becomes unbearable to the fault of कि mental health issue को तो आप गले लग जा type ही कर रहे हो तो कि आजा. So,
Yeah.
but these kind of things lighten up the mood. They show the real side of you, which now, when again you'll get into the services, maybe you'll carry that when you talk to the janta and other folks. Ki, it's okay, I'll handle this. That's my responsibility. You just chill. That's what life and evolution has to be like. You keep it authentic, be unapologetic, like you said, and go forward with it. Thank you for coming on a short notice. It was such a lovely chat. I am happy that I could have a phone call with you before, so we had some
Thank
pointers.
you. Feelings are mutual, sir. Feelings are mutual.
And what I'll do is I'll put in the WhatsApp group, but I'll send you some of the good books which now that you have time, across the genre that you've very, informally mentioned. I'll pick up some nice titles and I'll send you a few to read. Send these pictures of your notes, send pictures of your refills and pens, and we put it out on thumbnail. It would be such a nice thing. Something similar with Aisha also.
Yeah, okay.
Last time. She also showed a planner and everything. It was so nice to see. Cool. Thank you, Wardah. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon in the office. Bye.
Okay, sir. Thank you for having me. Thank you.